responsibility goes along with accountability.
Mm.
So if I find myself in a dark space, no matter how dark it gets, the first thing I got to do is look at myself, because I know somebody didn't push me here, somebody didn't throw me there. You know what I mean? Other people have input, but I have the ultimate input as an individual. So that's the first thing I got to say is I got me here. So how do I get myself out? And that's what can talk about things like therapy and all these other avenues. But in order to live with the accountability factor, we have to be able to admit that we're wrong. And that's traumatic for a lot of people. It can be pride, it can be ego, you know what I mean? It can be all different types of things. You can always see people probably when you grew up who never took accountability. And some people get that type of trauma and then they grow up and they become the same thing. So trauma is very interesting because you can portray the same energy that you like sworn to hate and not even know it. And that goes back to your conscious and subconscious brain. You know what I mean? You're not always conscious of what you're doing in your subconscious state of mind. So that's why they say what you do frequently becomes your frequency. So we just have to have better habits and practices. No one is perfect. You know what I mean? We say it in a way that everybody makes mistakes, but no one's perfect on the inside. So that means we constantly have to heal ourselves. Even the number one healer in the world is still on the journey themselves. Their journey is not complete until they die.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Talking the Talk Official Podcast, where we have comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. I'm your host, Juice, aka No Ordinary Brother.
All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite show. I go by the name of King Exodus. As always, we appreciate y'all for rocking with us. Thank you for watching. Your time will not be wasted. So,
I like that.
It's nice conversation. We're going to talk about responsibility trauma. All right, so pretty much me and Juice was having a conversation, long story short, and we instantly realized how we could correlate where there's a great deed of responsibility that's due. People automatically sometimes associate some type of trauma to it, some type of negativity, and this becomes a catalyst to no end, right? It could be the reason they constantly make excuses not to get something done, not to engage into a certain level of responsibility, or maybe not even to be successful. So we figured this would be a great conversation to have. We're going to bring up different instances where people shy away from responsibility versus run towards it. And we see a lot of these things happening right now in society. Anytime somebody dares to be great or just dares to do the right thing when it comes down to responsibility, there's always going to be some type of resistance of somebody telling you what can go wrong, right? And this is where a lot of people get stuck at. So that's the opening behind the topic. So Juice, you got it.
All right, man. I do want to start this off with there's been a couple of viral clips that's been going on lately when it comes to for instance, for women, right? I've seen several brothers now say like once they get married, they don't want their woman cooking or cleaning because that's what their mom and grandma did, and they're just inheriting trauma. And it blew my mind, like, yo, how's cooking and cleaning trauma for a woman? You know, I never been in a situation myself, just to anecdotally, where somebody did tell me like they didn't enjoy cooking or cleaning. I always been around women like that. When I was a kid, I remember on Saturday mornings, I don't know about y'all, Saturday mornings was like, get your ass up and it's time to clean the house. You know, it just became a tradition for us. Like every Saturday, every Sunday, we knew, hey, weekend it's time to clean early in the morning, have everything done before 12 o'clock. Or, you know, then Sunday come around, we'll do a little cleaning, go to church. Then after church, you know, we might get, you know, go to Louie's Cafe, Ryan's, you know, traditions on Sundays and stuff at the church. But it really mind blown me that people would look at doing chores as trauma, you know, or helping out or want to do things around the house. And it's weird because I remember a man once told me like, your trauma doesn't matter as a man. Imagine if you was like, yo, I'm in trauma. I'm not going to be able to provide for you like that. This world don't give a flying rat's ass about you. There's the needs and necessities that you are required as a man to do when it comes to provision over anything. And that's when I make that statement as well, that being married is no more just a great achievement. It's now you got to upgrade your woman to a woman of leisure, meaning she's married to you, but she shouldn't do anything around the house unless it's pertaining to raising the kids. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on these days? So I just want to give y'all a little bit more intake on that when it comes to responsibility traumas, because some people are looking at those situations that my mom and grandmother, my auntie, they were in trauma for cooking and cleaning, but I honestly think that's just a pitch to sell themselves. Have you actually asked them, like, hey, is this traumatic for you? Like, do you have to do it now? I do know people that are in situations who overly clean through situations that happen, whether they got real dirty one day or a family member told them, hey, you're not clean, you need to keep scrubbing. Like, I know instances of that. But like I said, it's just getting like people don't want to avoid everything when it comes out to the situation. So that's just my opening pitch to give y'all an example of where I'm going to be coming from on this.
All right, so let's go. First thing I want to bring up in this conversation is the impact of older generations. A lot of times, the negativity that they can offset, right, to the youth can completely fuck them out of any opportunity to succeed at anything, whether it be family, business, relationships. Anything is met with this fear of failing mentality, probably because the older generation probably didn't succeed themselves. So you have two different types of ancestors, so to speak, within the physical. You have one that may have not succeeded, that still could teach you based on their mistakes, but have your best interests, right? And then you have those that really just don't have your best interests, and they can't help it, because if they failed at life so miserably and they are unhappy, it's hard to want to see somebody else succeed and be happy as well. There's no motivation behind it, right? A lot of people don't want to see you pass them up, so to speak. So when you brought up the example with women being like, hey, you know, sometimes being a wife or being a woman in a house is traumatic, right? That's learned behavior from older generations, right? To where young men can say, hey, being a husband and being a man in a relationship is just way too stressful. I just rather do the single shit, live my best life. You know what I mean? No stress, no problems, no worries. Why? Because it's always an older guy in his ear saying, hey, stay single, you little nigga. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that.
Hey,
You're going to take it to court. You're going to take everything you owe. You know what I'm saying? You know, we have situations where Dr. Dre was married for 20 years. And out of that 20-year span, he didn't make headlines in the black community saying, hey, goals. Hey, that's it right there. Right? But as soon as he got that divorce and she took that money, hey, see, that's why I'd never get married right there. You know what I mean? So people will pick and choose what side of the spectrum they want to tap into. So you just have to be mindful of what is your family values. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is marriage a standard? Is family a standard? Is being successful a standard? And if these don't meet your standards in life, then you have to navigate to a different crowd of older people that you're listening to. So that's my opening to that.
Man, that was beautiful right there. That was absolutely beautiful, man. Because what he said is absolutely true. Like, I don't understand, like, when people have successful, like I said, relationships, we should model that. But the minute that successful relationship is like, oh, I knew it. See, this is why I'll never get married. You know what I'm saying? You got this situation. You got, right now, as crazy as this sounds, you got a lot of black people depending on LeBron James's marriage. They said, if that marriage falls, I know I should never get married. Yeah, I do know, like, there's like one of the highest black couples besides the Obamas. But that's the new level, right? You had Tia Mowry and I forgot his name. When they divorced, everybody's like, man, all the super couples, they all losing out. But it's but they never talk about, like, you know, the great times they had with these individuals too much, right? But things is good, it's all like, well, you know, it's good, but when it goes bad, it's like, oh man, this is why you shouldn't do that. I had a lot of brothers that tell me, you know, older men, like he was saying, they be like, man, listen, don't get married, man. Just live your life, blood. You know, You know what I'm saying? Your woman, she'll mind me your girlfriend for 10, 15, 20 years. I don't see nothing wrong with that. You know, that way she can't take nothing from you. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying?
That way you get to know her
Yeah,
for
you get to
15
know a
years.
person, you know, after 20 years, man, you can propose to her then, you know,
It's
she
only
rocking
right.
with you all the year. But see, this is one of the things I admire about the Godfather Kevin Samuels. He was all like, listen, if a woman's willing to commit to you for all them years, you should be able to commit to her by giving her that ring. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's to a point like, yo, I can't disagree with that. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You know, people want to avoid marriage contracts when it comes to the government. Then, you know, people make their own contracts. Whatever is going to work for you, just make sure it's effective. Because I feel like once a person put in time, I don't see, you know, I'll be honest, I don't see the reason why you can't give them what's yours if they help you build that at the same time. It's definitely necessary. Now, one of the major things I want to talk about is they say trauma is not your fault, but your responsibility is to heal. Most people don't even try healing from trauma. They rather just tell you, yo, I'm suffering for this. I went through this and that. There's a hypertension when it comes to explaining people's trauma situations, right? I don't know if y'all ever been around individuals who keep explaining traumas to you and you heard it like 30 times. That means they
Mm-hmm.
never healed from it. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
they like to tell you like, hey, I'm just telling you my story, what I went through and how I got through it. I was like, it can't keep triggering you every time a small conversation pops up. You know what I'm saying? That healing, restoring is everything to be able to process things better and move forward. I had a person, I had a little disagreement. We was kind of going back and forth. And it didn't make some of the stuff she said didn't make sense, right? I remember she had made a statement saying, look, I love to spoil my man because I love to be spoiled. And then she made the statement, I never been spoiled though. I was like, yo, I don't think you just understand what you just heard, what you just said. I was like, if you're trying to project to the next man that you want to be spoiled, but you never experienced, what do you know how spoiled feels like? You know what I'm saying? But I understand some people trauma responses to her trauma response is that, yo, I just been wanting the same thing for so long. I don't mind showing it to an individual, but then I get fucked in the end, so I gotta fuck people over at the same time. And I'd be like, yo, this stuff be crazy. But that'd be a little too long winded, but that's just my next statement on that. You got another thing you want to move to?
Yeah, staying right there.
Hmm.
We had a space of time where going through trauma is normal, but healing is the awkward shit. That's
Hmm.
as long as you have traumatic experiences and you're able to stay there and express that trauma, like verbally, but never put forth the actions towards healing, you're normal. This has become the norm. You hear it in the music, you see it in TV shows, movies. Going through trauma and staying in that state is normal. When you heal and you begin to change, you begin to grow, you begin to implement different things so that you can like not stay in that position, then all of a sudden you're an outcast, so to speak. Now you got to switch your crowd of people. Now you got to like relocate, you know what I'm saying, physically, mentally, spiritually, all because you want more for yourself. So like someone mentioned, trauma becomes the norm that people try to bond excuses to it. So everybody got an excuse as to why they can't make something happen or accomplish something. And that becomes the normal conversation. You know what I'm saying? One practice activity I do is not just with my kid, but younger kids, you know, kids in general. I just be like, hey, you know, I ask them questions about life. What do you think about life? And if they say, well, you know, life is hard, I'm like, how can you say something like that? You ain't paid not one bill. You know what I'm saying? You haven't even reached teenage levels yet, 100%, and you already have this mentality that life can be hard.
Mm.
So I think as adults, parents, influencers, family members, whatever, we have to set the tone that life is what you make it.
Mm.
So that
That's my
people
song right
behind
there.
us,
That's my
right.
song.
So obstacles are normal, but overcoming obstacles should be the norm as well,
Mm.
not being stuck or stagnant. So this is where responsibility trauma comes into play. And kind of going into my next point, being selfish for some people is just 10 times easier. We ain't got to worry about being responsible for nobody else. My time, my time, my money, my resources, my resources. I'm worried about me. That's the cop out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, uh, even on the like entertainment level, you have entertainers who feel it means to get into philanthropy. You have different people that have different ways they give back. Then some people are just like, hey, I got my money, shit is good, cool. Then you have some people that have that mentality as well, combined with the people that do philanthropy. They may do that behind closed doors. So I'm just trying to say is sometimes people shy away from that trauma that comes along with responsibility because it's just easier to just navigate as an individual. And that way you don't have to worry about, some people feel like they don't have to worry about letting nobody down if they move like that. You know what I'm saying? If I fail by myself. No one sees it. No one gets affected by it. You know what I'm saying? So it's different ways to look at that, but I just had to point that out there. You do have the selfish mentality as well, you know. So you got it.
Man, that was good, man. I wanted to talk about. I feel like there's, as crazy as this is, I feel like there's a trauma to going to therapy. And like people will really avoid therapy. Like, I ain't trying to hear nobody tell me about my problems, huh? I ain't trying to hear
Or you weak
nobody
or
tell me about how to get
crazy
over this
if you go.
situation.
Right.
What? So you know what I'm saying? I to a certain extent, I do believe you can self heal yourself, but at the same time, to get over situations, you do need to express that. That's where I think where therapy is getting its counteraction from being a good thing to being a bad thing. Because people be like, "Man, I done went to therapy. That stuff don't work. I'm still fucked up in the head." I'm like, "Man, what the fuck?" You know, one of the main things I always enjoy, like I said, I got to bring up the Godfather again. He said, "Have you completed therapy?" These are people who never completed therapy that's telling you how bad it is. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of energy. This person's not going to really pour into you. You know, they're using you for your money just so you can talk to them about your money. I ain't like, God damn, man. Like, yo, y'all got to do something. Because sitting in and absorbing your emotions can be bad if you never learn how to control it. Now, they said there's 4 ways of accountability, right, when it comes to trauma. There's one, you can learn how to control yourself. You know, a lot of people go through triggers when it comes to trauma to a point you react instantly. You know what I'm saying? And you haven't learned how to control that emotion because you haven't learned how to embrace it. And then, you know what I'm saying, and then proceed forward. I talked about it before. I said anything I ever go to, I just move forward. But see, I embrace the emotions that come along with it, right? Every time I went through pain or any type of anger, it just fueled me to want to do better. That's because I've learned how to control it, right? Some people will get in those emotional states and be like, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm not doing nothing. I don't even know why I want to try no more. I'm going to go back to the old me. If this is more effective when I was an asshole, then I need to stick to that. I'd be like, yo, what the fuck is going on? But these are people who never learn, you know, how to control themselves. Too, like I said, you got to learn how to sit with your emotions. You know what I'm saying? It's times where I will literally sit in the dark and just let myself be swallowed by emotion, thoughts, different things that have happened to my life. And I can feel even the tension rise up and rise down because, like I said, when you get really in tune with your body, you can actually feel the hairs rising on your body. That's when you know, or you start talking in your head to a point it starts speaking out verbally. You know what I'm saying? These are things you have to learn how to control, so you might as well learn how to do it indoors indoors. Embracing your anger and knowing how to redirect it, right? Big things, like I said, one of the biggest things for me when it came to anger was working out. Working out, proving people wrong, or one of my favorite ones is looking at things that make me happy or smile. Like I said, I like seeing people travel. I like seeing people, like couples, like do the little dates and shit. Like I've been I still post like at least 2 or 3 times a year, like saying just, hey, I like seeing people happy. That makes me happy. It makes me get out of a sad state of mind or an upset state of mind just seeing somebody else smile because they're enjoying themselves with whatever activity they got going on. And the last one is only you can heal your trauma. There's no way around it. Some people believe like if it's there, if I just avoid it, it's not going to happen. See, the thing is, I don't know if y'all ever been in a situation where you're telling people a story that might be a trauma or something you related to, and the minute they hear it, they're like, see, I went through that shit too, man. And, you know, it's everything. Like, you said the right thing. Now they're ready to unleash it all on you. So when you can heal through your trauma and, you know what I'm saying, speak to other people about situations. One thing I will say about social media that I like myself is that sometimes you can speak to somebody who stays in another state and city and they'll hear you out. You know what I'm saying? They said sometimes the best supporters of your life is people that's not even in your same city, state, or family. It's just somebody that you talking to on the internet. And I done had a couple of internet friends that I done met and some people I never met, but we be having some of the dope conversations to a point we learning from each other and we just healing from each other and just moving forward. But that's all I got right there.
Okay. Um, One thing I could throw in on the therapy part is a lot of people have a negative connotation to the word therapy. A lot of people feel like, hey, I'm crazy if I go to therapy.
I'm sorry, man.
And
I'm
I
sorry
don't
to tell you
know if that's
about
just like a black thing, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's just strictly based on coming from where we come from as a community. But if we want to go with that logic, damn it, everybody within the black community should go to therapy. You know what I mean? At least not for the medical side, but at least for the process, right? So a lot of people are afraid to be considered crazy, which I don't know how that correlates with therapy. But when we talk about being insane, right, that's pretty much doing the same thing and expecting different results. So if generation after generation after generation, if we keep doing the same thing and we're not seeing different results, we'd rather be insane than crazy. I'd rather be crazy. You know what I mean? And go get some help. You know what I mean? So you have to look at that. And what happens in this type of topic with responsibility trauma is we like the blame game. Like that is very addictive for a lot of people. It's to blame other people for where they at in life. You know what I mean? And some people could take it so far, even with the religious standpoint, to where it's like, if they do good, hey, God did it. If I did bad, that wasn't me. That was the devil. Accountability is never based on the personal, right? So I just want to throw that in the mix. Like responsibility goes along with accountability. So if I find myself in a dark space, no matter how dark it gets, the first thing I got to do is look at myself because I know somebody didn't push me here. Somebody didn't throw me there. You know what I mean? Other people have input, but I have the ultimate input as an individual. So that's the first thing I got to say is I got me here. So how do I get myself out? And that's what we can talk about things like therapy and all these other avenues. But in order to live with the accountability factor, we have to be able to admit that we're wrong. And that's traumatic for a lot of people. It can be pride, it can be ego, you know what I mean? It can be all different types of things. You can always see people probably when you grew up who never took accountability. And some people get that type of trauma and then they grow up and they become the same thing. So trauma is very interesting because you can portray the same energy that you like sworn to hate and not even know it. And that goes back to your conscious and subconscious brain. You know what I mean? You're not always conscious of what you're doing in your subconscious state of mind. So that's why they say what you do frequently becomes your frequency. So we just have to have better habits and practices. No one is perfect. You know what I mean? We say it in a way that everybody makes mistakes, but no one's perfect on the inside. So that means we constantly have to heal ourselves. Even the number one healer in the world is still on the journey themselves. Their journey is not complete until they die. So if we all just accept the fact that everybody has flaws and everybody's fucked up at a particular point, I think the responsibility trauma will start to diminish. So you got it.
Man, one thing you said right there, I do want to speak about this is you got to remember, therapists need therapy, healers even get hurt.
Right?
So it's a never ending journey of pain that you will experience as you live through this, as you continue your life on this earth. But it's how you deal with it. Like I said, one of the things I always talk about, like books I like to read, is wealth, health, love, happiness, psychology, business, self-help development, autobiographies, documentaries. That's my type of thing. And it's always been some of the stories I've heard. I've learned how to deal with situations, right? Where something went left for an individual, they felt down and out. I always was like, oh man, I read this in a book. Okay, this is what I need to do. It was always something there as if it was already mapped out because it was already in a book. It was already in an audio I didn't listen to. Hey, you're gonna lose friends and make new friends. And when I was losing a friend at one point, I was like, man, fuck, man, like we went back like 10 years, and you don't want to be my friend no more. What kind of shit is this? But then, like I said, these are different things that you read and you listen to, and letting you know, like everything's as you progress. make progress, people are going to change, and that's okay. You got to be able to learn and live with that. Kevin Samuels once said, he said, look, every 5 years, your wardrobe should change. Every 5 years, your friendship change. Every 5 years, you change. You know what? That's why they always call it the 5-year theory. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? It's called the 5-year theory for a reason, because what you become in the next 5 years, it's all about how you adjust to your happiness and your pains and your progress. These are the things that connect you and build your character up, or it's going to destroy your character. This is how different morals and principles come about. It's things I didn't once said in the past I never do. Shit, I'm doing now. You know what I'm saying? The crazy thing about using that word never, it is definitely powerful, because I remember I said I never worked at McDonald's, and I'm working at McDonald's. I mean, I was like, yo, I never work at Walmart. I remember working at Walmart because they're the only people that I hire. You know, it's different things that can come about during your frequency as you talk to a point. You might really just manifest it at your lowest or your highest point. There's 4 R's when it comes to trauma. You have to be able to realization, reason, you got to relate and regulate. Those are like the 4 things, the 4 R's to when it comes to trauma, how you get through any situation, scenario. Remember, you got to regulate, relate, reason, and realization. Some of the thing is realizing things that that happened to you that you had no control over. I remember, like you said, being in a dark space, and I realized some things that happened to me. I was like, damn, that really happened. I remember crying one time, and I was like, bro, but I didn't know. And I just kept on telling myself I didn't know, to a point like I kind of rocked myself for a little bit, for like 5 minutes, and I was able to heal my inner child right then and there, because I didn't know that was really affecting me. Like I said, sometimes I sit quiet to a point, emotions, memories, and stuff come to my brain, and I'm starting to get so embodied by it. I don't know how to handle it, but I know to get through it. And sometimes I got to call somebody that's older than me just to have that certain guidance, right? I talk to my uncle maybe like once, probably like once every 4 months. And I'd be like, hey, man, look, I'm trying to make some progress in my life. What are some books you read and this and that? And he was like, hey, look, man, I'm gonna tell you like this. Where I am in my life, I didn't know I would get here. I just knew to keep moving forward. I let myself get attached to individuals that I knew that were doing better than me. I let myself go to therapy sessions. And he always says, look, one thing that's always helped me is reading the Bible. And I always talk about this. I'm not really religious as an individual, but I always say, yo, the Bible got some stories in there that definitely help you build some goddamn character, regardless of what y'all think. So some of those situations is definitely help connect me, be a better man and an individual. So remember, when you go through these traumas, you got to have a realizations, your reasons for wanting to get over the situations. There's relatability, because there's other people that's connected to the same trauma you have, and regulate yourself when it comes to it.
Cool. One thing you brought up that was key: evolution, evolving. That's a scary thing for a lot of people, because it means things change. Like you said, friends change, everything changes. A lot of people just really want the same foundational life. You know what I'm saying? The same environment, same friends, same everything. And this gives them comfort. You hear rappers, like even Drake said, you know what I'm saying? My circle got so small, it's a period. You know what I mean? Like, everybody even raps about is lonely at the top. You know what I mean? So a lot of people will correlate with trauma and not really succeed, because it keeps a lot of people around them that probably don't even need to be there in the beginning. So evolving and changing and healing is scary, because it means people are going to lose people. People are going to take losses. But what is a loss? You know what I'm saying? Can you really define what a loss is? Failure is part of the process. And this is what shies a lot of people away from being responsible, is failing, the fear of failing. But failure is an opportunity for you to grow stronger. It's the only way to learn. You know what I'm saying? No one knew how to ride a bike at first. But within that process, everybody failed. Everybody busted their shit up. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like,
busted leg, busted arm, busted finger.
You know what I mean? And to analyze that even further, some of us were so bold to fall, we didn't even wear helmets and shoulder pads and none of that. We just fell. We just took the scars and the scrapes, got back up, started back pedaling. You know what I mean? So that's life. Everything comes with that type of scenario. You're gonna fall before you learn how to do anything. So when it comes to business, all these different types of things, that is what holds us back, the fear of failing, right? So going into like what you said about the Bible and different things to help you, I will never forget one day I had a pretty much a bad day, so to speak. Energy was a little off. Read a couple of verses in the Bible, went to the Quran, read a couple of things in the Quran, read the Egyptian Book of the Dead a little bit, and I was on 10. You know what I mean? It's just something about everybody has to find what brings you happiness and peace. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I might got to get in my car, take a little drive. Sometimes meditation music does it. Sometimes the right audio books or audios. You know what I mean? Like when it comes down to responsibility, you are responsible for yourself, your energy, your frequency, your vibration. So you got to pull out everything that keeps you in a higher state. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of times people feel like they get so high that they shouldn't experience certain things in life. And that's just not true. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, you're going to go through obstacles and challenges. So what defines your character is how you overcome those obstacles. And even when you're going through things, what is your character then? You know what I mean? So it's easy for a lot of people to show character when everything is good and great, but it's 10 times harder to show character when everything is not on that type of level. You know what I mean? So this can help, I think, younger people when they encounter challenges, obstacles, is just letting them know that it's normal. And going back to the self-care, I know that was mentioned earlier in the comment. As long as self-care is positive, I'm all for it. Self-care can be sometimes negative. We throw that term around a lot, you know. We got a lot of terms we throw around and challenge, you know. But self-care is very important. I guess that'd be my question. On that type of space, what are you doing right now for self-care that is different?
When it comes to self-care activities, I tell people, look, I go get a massage. I'm not gonna lie. Every time my neck get rubbed on, my back, I feel so much stress coming out my body. Right? I don't know, but it's because like they said, men carry a lot of stress on their back. It's got to be true because they might hit other body parts. It's not that tense, but that neck and that back, that's a whole different feeling right there. All right, you know that's why we gave that's why we gave a nugget to the women one day. You know, we was like, hey, listen, you want to start something, rub on the back of your man's neck. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You might relieve some stress and cause something like that. But like I said, massages is one thing I like to do. Other self-care, man. I got back into yoga. That shit is challenging. I advise anybody who think yoga is just some bullshit, hey, try it. You're gonna get pissed the fuck off. That's a challenge itself that will frustrate me at times, right? I be looking at people who be doing these perfect forms and perfect forms like, you know, downward dog to all this other, they got perfect form. I be doing shit like, man, fuck this shit, man. Why his form like that? You know what I'm saying? Because when you come from a competitive nature, you already feel like things should naturally become what it is. But you gotta remember, yoga's more so stretching the limbs. If I'm so used to just lifting, I'm stretching my muscle to build muscle, but I'm not giving them that extension so they can breathe more. So that has helped a lot. I did yoga last night. Man, I tell anybody right now, get to drinking tea at night. Tea is helping me a lot. Green tea specifically. If I eat past 8 o'clock, I'm drinking tea before I go to sleep. I woke up this morning, like I said, after I did yoga, I felt amazing. I said, damn. I forgot how good green tea was. Uh, what else I like? I might treat myself once a week to a meal. That's just me. Self care is just like food, making sure my body gets relaxed. You know, sometimes a brother do gotta stay hygiene. You know, get a manicure, pedicure. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shit. Hey, look, ain't no back in my game. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's pretty much my self-care routine. Make sure I get my body treated out, treat myself, make sure I keep myself up to par. And another thing about self-care, be around other people who already been doing that shit. You never know, one of the things they do might help you out. So yeah, that's my self-care thing.
All right, cool, cool. My last point, one of my last, is the running. You know, it is 10 times easier for people to run from shit. And what I've seen happen is when people do run from situations, they like to create a different narrative that's not really true. And it makes it 10 times easier to live with the results from whatever happened. And this is really like what I've been noticing a lot. Like two people could go through the same experience and both of them can leave that experience with two different interpretations of what went wrong. And then, well, a lot of people do is like, hey, well, if that didn't work, it wasn't meant or it wasn't time. No, you fucked that up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Responsibility trauma is real. You know what I mean? So, like I said, a lot of people run from situations and then they cloak it, you know what I'm saying, and cover it up with everything else but failure. And I just noticed that a lot. You know what I mean? So, you never really can grow and heal from shit if you run and then change the narrative in your favor. So, if you really want to heal and get through shit, you just really got to be honest about what transpired and took place. Like I said earlier, you know what I mean? Like, one thing that I always do is I always try to look in that mirror. You know what I'm saying? Even if I feel like I wasn't in error, deep down inside, we know we did something wrong in situations. There's always going to be some type of blame. So if we start with self, that changes our trajectory. It changes our perception of not just what transpired, but it will change your perception on the world if you always look back at self. So you got it.
Oh man, the only thing I was gonna say is I made a comment about self care. The only time it's negative is when you really don't pursue the things that you need to get done. And I talked about the laundry example, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Mom would come in the room and be like, "Hey, the clothes better be folded," right? You hear her coming up the stairs. You got to throw the clothes underneath the bed. She's like, "Okay, you got the clothes done," but you really just hit the situation. And I see people who go to self care acts that they're just hiding what needs to be healed at the same time. They're
Mm-hmm.
avoiding it, right? Imagine if every day you walk in your house and your pain is sitting right there on your couch. You see it every day, but you walk by instead of tending to what needs to be healed. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to be able to address those situations to get it from there. So like I said, every day you're just gonna see it every day that things you need to tend to that you need to get done, never addressed. It sits there, and then when it starts getting triggered, you know what I'm saying? That's what's like laundry. What clothes pile up if you don't tend to them, if you don't put them away. Pain is the same way. It'll pile up if you don't tend to it. So that's the last thing I gotta make right there.
Cool, man. I ain't got nothing else, man. We can
All
wrap
right,
it up.
Coleman, go ahead and sign us off then if you ain't got nothing else.
All right. Once again, we appreciate y'all for watching. That's Talking That Talk official podcast. Make sure you tap into the YouTube channel, subscribe. We have more content available. We thank you for watching, and we are out.
All right.